Hello everyone, welcome to the second section of the course where we're going to be focusing on scanning for services. Alright, so we learned in the first section about the basics and the fundamentals of Metasploit, and now we want to get started with the scanning aspects of Metasploit. So we will be trying to get a hands-on experience in this section about the various scanning modules that exist. And let's take a look at what exactly we're going to be learning in this section. Alright, so we're going to start off with scanning for FTP services. Again, FTP services involves scanning your entire network to determine what versions of FTP are running on certain computers or on certain routers. Alright, we will then move on to scanning for MSSQL services. Again, for the database, we'll be learning how to scan for the databases and also displaying the version of what of the service that is running. That is of primary importance. We'll then move on to scanning for HTTP services, which is equally as important. And again, we'll be learning about the different versions and how to scan for them. Alright, so we are going to be focused on using the auxiliary modules, more specifically the auxiliary scanner modules in this section to understand what services are actually running. And we'll then wrap up this section by learning about module building. And the reason I've included it in this section is we're going to be focusing on building scanner modules or editing our scanner modules, the scanning process or scanning for FTP services. Alright, so in this video, essentially what we'll be doing is we'll be using Metasploit to scan our network, our local network, for computers or targets or routers, any device connected to the network. And we're going to be scanning for any FTP services that currently exist. And furthermore, we'll be scanning to find the version of the FTP server that's currently running. Now, what I've done is I've installed Metasploitable 2 on another virtual machine instance, as you can see right here. And we'll get to how to set that up in the next section when we'll be getting a hands-on approach with exploitation. I'll be showing you how to set up a virtual penetration testing environment where you can practice your penetration testing legally. But for now, don't worry if you don't have it installed. You can perform this scan on your network as well. Its purpose is to discover any computers running FTP and the versions of FTP they are running. Alright, so the reason I'm using Metasploitable 2 is because it has a vulnerable FTP server running, and you will see that it will display its version and the fact that it's running FTP, and furthermore it will display the local IP address, which, as you know, I don't know as well. So we're going to be scanning my entire network, and let's see what computers are running FTP or have an FTP port open at least. Alright, so make sure you've started your Metasploit database and you have the PostgreSQL service started. Remember, if you've restarted your computer, you need to restart these services. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is we need to start up the Metasploit console. So start that up. Again, give it a few seconds to start up. It usually takes quite a while, but don't worry about that. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using a Ruby module. Now, Ruby is a programming language if you do not know that. And we're going to be using a Ruby module from the scanners that exist in the auxiliary module. So if you don't remember what an auxiliary module is, it essentially gives us functionality like scanning and fuzzing. Alright, so we're going to be using a scanner from the auxiliary module. And the module that we're going to be using is a Ruby module that will allow us to find the FTP version running on computers on our network. Now again, you can scan one computer if you have the IP address of it, or you can go ahead and scan the entire network, which is what I'm going to be showing you. So first, what we want to do is we want to use the search command. I realized that that was a command that I really didn't show how to use. So let's say we want to search for a module here, and the module exists in the auxiliary. So auxiliary, and it is a scanner, and it is an FTP scanner, so we can specify that. And I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to search for all or any scanners that exist in the auxiliary and are related to the FTP right here. So you can see that it's displayed all of these versions here, or all of these modules that you can use. And the one we are looking for is the FTP version 1 right here. So again, you might be asking, what does this do? Well, it will essentially scan all or a specific computer on our network and will display what version of FTP is running, if any. Okay, that's very important to understand, if any. So what you want to do is you want to copy this, or you can type it out if you want to. And we want to now say use, and you can paste that there by using the Ctrl+Shift+V command or keys on your keyboard, or you can just right click and paste it and just hit enter. And again, it will give you the confirmation that it is being used by printing it out in red in brackets. So now we want to clear that out. And now we want to show the options that we need to edit. Remember, we need to set the rhost option, which allows us to set our network IP range or our target IP. All right, so you can use port. If you already know it has an open port, then you can always specify the credentials that you want to use. So for example, the username and the password, that's if you're performing a penetration test and you've been given the credentials and your job is to again perform the penetration test. You can perform the penetration test with the default credentials, for example, username and admin and password. But for now, on Metasploitable 2, we don't want to log in or anything. We just want to find out what version is running. We'll be looking at exploiting FTP in the next section, but for now, let's focus on finding out what version of FTP is running and is it running at all and is the port open. All right, so we need to just change the rhosts value here. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to say set rhosts and we're going to select entire network range. Now you can specify your entire network range. Mine is 192.168.1.1 and then I use the /24, which means my entire network range. So that means any computer connected to my network will be scanned. So next we want to set our threads. All right, so our threads will essentially, as you can see, the number of concurrent threads. That means the number of devices that are being scanned or the number of IP addresses that are being scanned at the same time. This will improve the speed of your scan, but again will take up more system resources. I'm just going to say 10 because that's a reasonable amount. So threads to 10 and I'm going to hit enter and now I'm going to hit run or scan. All right, so once I hit run, it's going to start scanning my network and this will take a while because I'm scanning my entire network. But if you have the IP address of the device or the computer that you want to scan, then you can specify that one and again that will be much faster. So once you've hit run, just let this go ahead and start the scan. And again, it might delay it a little bit, but don't worry, the scan will start taking place and it's going to give you a progress here in terms of percentage. So just let that scan and hopefully once I get the first confirmation here, there we are, scan 26 out of 256 hosts, it's 10% complete. All right, so we're just going to let this run and we'll wait for it to complete. All right, so as the scan is completing, you can see that we have got a positive result here. That means we have an FTP server running on this computer with the IP address 192.168.1.108, and indeed it is the Metasploitable 2 virtual machine. And you can see that it's grabbed the FTP banner information, so it's running an FTP service of VS-FTPD 2.3.4. So that can furthermore give you more information about what service is running, and from then on you can understand what type of exploitation you want to perform, and we'll be looking at that in the next section because right now we just need to focus on getting information about the target, and then in the next video with the same information we'll be performing the exploitation process. Now this is the only computer on my network that currently has an FTP port open, and the reason is I've closed everything else just to make it really simple for you to understand. Now again, on your network you might find that your router has an FTP port open, and you also might get information about what version of the software of FTP is currently running. And as you can see, this scan will take quite a while because again it's going to scan through 256 IP addresses on the network. Now again, you could narrow it down to a subnet on your network, but again that's more on what you want to do and what you feel is comfortable for you, dependent on the situation. Alright, so that is how to get the FTP version using an auxiliary scanner on Metasploit. And as you can see, information gathering on Metasploit is really advanced, and it gives you in-depth information about the type of service that is running on your target. Alright, so that's going to be it for this video.